Federalist Paper 1, Part 1. This is going to be for English language learners around the world and new immigrants to the United States who want to understand the American Constitution a little better. After an unequivocal experience of the inefficacy of the subsisting federal government, you are called upon to deliberate on a new constitution for the United States of America. The subject speaks its own importance, comprehending in its consequences nothing less than the existence of the Union and the safety and welfare of the parts of which it is composed. The fate of an empire, in many respects, the most interesting in the world. It has been frequently remarked that it seems to have been reserved to the people of this country, by their conduct and example, to decide the important question whether societies of men are really capable or not of establishing good government from reflection and choice, or whether they are forever destined to depend for their political constitutions on accident and force. If there be any truth in the remark, the crisis at which we are arrived with propriety be regarded as the era in which that decision is to be made. And a wrong election of the part we shall act may, in this view, deserve to be considered as the general misfortune of mankind. Okay, the map you're looking at, I know it is a little blurry, but hang in there with me. See this area here? This little area here? Those are the 13 colonies. This is year 1775. And that is the year that the first shots of the American Revolution were fired. This was a year before America declared independence. But notice all the 13 colonies, who would be 13 states ever after the American Revolution, they're right here in this shaded area, right there. And to give you a better idea, look at the highlighted area, the yellow highlight. That tells you how much of this immense land, this huge land, was occupied by the first settlers, the first people that came to the United States from Europe. Now notice there were lots of thousands and thousands of Native Americans here, scattered all over this vast land. But majority of the settlers lived here right by the ocean, right by the Atlantic Ocean. And then a few of them were living inside the highlighted area. So keep that in mind, because that is very important in understanding American history. The amount of land that is available to Americans. That is very, very important. Americans wrote their first constitution, and it was called the Articles of Confederation, during the Revolutionary War. But after the war was over, they found out that it had many defects. There were many things wrong with it. And in 1787, 55 men gathered in Philadelphia to write a new constitution. They gathered in a convention, and they called this convention the Constitutional Convention. They wrote this constitution and they sent it to the 13 different states. And I know it might be a little hard for you to read them on this map. You can always look it up online. It's very easy, but I'll just say the names of them. Georgia, South Carolina, North Carolina, Virginia, Pennsylvania, Maryland, Delaware, New Jersey, Connecticut, Rhode Island, Massachusetts, and New York. They sent this constitution to the 13 states to be ratified. Ratified is R-A-T-I-F-I-E-D. To ratify means to approve, to legally and seriously approve of it and join the Union. As soon as this constitution was written, there were many people in all the 13 states that decided this constitution might not be a good one for them. And they started criticizing them. Some of them started writing articles in newspapers criticizing this constitution. 3 men, Alexander Hamilton, James Madison, and John Jay, got together and started writing articles and publishing them in the papers, especially in New York, to answer to these people who were criticizing the new Constitution, and also explain the new Constitution and federalism to the people of New York at first and the people of the United States. So these 3 men wrote 85 articles or papers, and they would publish them in 3 or 4 newspapers over the next few months after the Constitutional Convention, and these are all known as the Federalist Papers. To understand the American Constitution, to understand how federalism works in the United States, one has to look at these 85 papers. You have to remember that since they were written 2 centuries ago, over 2 centuries ago, 230 years ago to be exact, they might be at first a little difficult to understand. But if you understand the context, if you understand what was happening at the time, then you can understand these papers better. So I am hoping that I can read these papers slowly for you if you're a new immigrant to the United States, or you are anywhere in the world and speak English as a second language. You can at least hear the words that were written in these papers. So it is very important for you to have these papers in front of you as you listen to me, at least the first time. They are available in book format, they are available online for free, and you can have access to them. So make sure you take a look at the paper and read along with me when you listen to these. That is very important. This first paragraph is my favorite because he says, look, we Americans have been given a chance to establish a republic. This is something that has not been done in the whole world, a big republic. And we're going to have many enemies because the British, the Spanish, and the French, who are all around us, surrounding us over here, the British in Canada, Spanish over here, and French, they had islands and colonies over here in Caribbean. They would hate to see a republic established, a republic that works, because then it will be a model to the world. And people will be sick and tired of kings and monarchs and queens. So here, Alexander Hamilton is asking the readers, this is important. We are going to establish a system based on reflection and choice. We're going to sit, talk, deliberate, think deeply about something, and establish a new government that for the first time in the world has been established in this format. Not by force, not by a dictator, not by an absolute monarch. So that is why this is one of my favorite paragraphs. So I would say listen to it, read it, reread it as much as you can.